In this video, I want to highlight all of the new PlayStation 4 game releases coming this week. This week is a little bit interesting because it's definitely a lighter week in comparison to some of the more recent weeks. However, there are definitely some games to sink your teeth into, one of the biggest multiplayer game releases of the year, and a free PlayStation 4 game. Yes, a game that was formerly a $60 PS4 title is now going free to play, and I think this is the best decision they could have made. And there are a lot of other interesting titles rounding out the lineup. We've got a new JRPG, we've got a very interesting action RPG, one of the most popular anime in the world is getting an open world game. So in actuality, there is a lot to sink your teeth into. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And as I mentioned at the top, you guys are probably really interested in whatever game is free or it's going to be free. Well, that is DISSIDIA Final Fantasy NT. This game released all the way back in early 2018. And personally speaking, I was very excited for it. Dissidia Final Fantasy was a great series of games on the PlayStation Portable. We got 2 games on that platform. And as a Final Fantasy fan, it was an absolute love letter. You take all of these iconic Final Fantasy characters, throw them in a game, and they just battle it out. Yeah, it's very easy to get into it. Unfortunately, with Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, to me, it was really a step backwards. There was no traditional single-player component, and they tried to take the game into a more competitive route. For some people, they're gonna like that. However, I thought it really lost a lot of the luster that the original Dissidia Final Fantasy titles had on the PlayStation Portable. And with the game trailing behind at this point, Square Enix needed to do something to revitalize this game, and taking it free to play is probably the best idea. Now, how they are going to do it with the free version is that there are going to be characters that cycle every week, so you'll have access to those characters that week, and if you do want to buy any character, you can do so as well. I don't know how this is going to parlay. If you own the full game, if you have the season pass, is there going to be the addition of the game to buy all the characters from the jump? We do know that if you own the game, you'll be able to play with everyone with the free edition, so at the very least, it'll at least give a short-term jolt to the player base, which God knows a fighting game absolutely needs its player base intact. So hopefully at the very least, more people are playing it and it can be a more compelling and engaging experience. Now, for the long term, is it gonna have that sustainability? I would hope so, because at a surface value, when you see Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, when you see some of the most iconic characters in the franchise battling it out, it's pretty easy to get into it, at least at a surface level. Now, in terms of longevity, again, that's the question, but we'll see how Dissidia Final Fantasy NT turns out, as the free edition will be dropping on March 12th. Moving on from that, we have one of the biggest multiplayer game releases of the year, and that is Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Now, a lot of people have been playing the beta for this game, and it's turned out rather well. Unfortunately, we got the news that this game is going to have an enormous day 1 update if you are getting the physical version, so that's a little bit of a bummer for PlayStation 4 users. However, the game itself should be very good, and this looks to be a game that Ubisoft is really going to stay committed to, as they already have a year's worth of content planned out, and a lot of it is going to be free. There is another edition available, the Gold Edition, and unfortunately, that edition actually gets you early access to the game, so if you want to hear me complain even more, that's something I'm not a big fan of, but we've been seeing a lot of games do that. Shadow of the Tomb Raider did that. A lot of the sports games usually do that, and now the Division 2 is doing it as well, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But if you want an engaging multiplayer experience, the Division 2 is probably going to be a pretty good one. And what's great about going into the release of this from a Ubisoft standpoint is that that other multiplayer title that released a little while ago in Anthem, it didn't do all too well from a reception standpoint, so I think people are already looking to move on to another multiplayer game, and the Division 2 might be the title to fit that bill. Now, obviously, the game has to deliver from a quality standpoint, but I could see this game resonating extremely well in a commercial sense. If you're getting the Gold Edition, the Division 2 will be playable starting March 12th. For you guys picking up the Standard Edition, it'll be available March 15th. Moving on from that, I also noted at the top that one of the most popular anime is getting an open world game, and that is Piece Worldseeker. Now, whenever you look at a One Piece game, you have to be a little bit skeptical just because the games generally aren't very good. If you compare the One Piece game offerings to, say, a Naruto or a Dragon Ball Z, One Piece definitely falls below those two. There have been some okay games, but I don't think there's been anything truly great. With Worldseeker, you do have an open world game, and initially I had some interest in the game, but the more gameplay I've seen of this game, the more I'm hesitant in saying that this is a day 1 buy. Honestly, for everyone, I would say wait for a sale on this one, or at the very least, wait for the reception. Gameplay is looking a little bit bland, but they're trying something new with the One Piece video game IP, so I'm interested to see how it turns out, but this is one I could see hitting the bargain bin rather quickly, and from a quality standpoint, I could see it being a little bit of a mediocre title. We'll see, as Piece Worldseeker is due out on March 15th. Moving on from that, we have a pretty cool action RPG, a longtime PC release now coming to consoles, and that is Ghost of a Tale. Ghost of a Tale will be hitting the PlayStation 4 on March 12th, and it's an action RPG where you play as Tilo, a mouse and minstrel thrown into a perilous adventure. Through stealth and cunning, you'll be able to explore the secrets of dwindling heights and navigate its dangers. It's a very charming game. Visually, it's not anything to write home about. The Steam release did come at $25. I don't know if the PlayStation 4 version is going to be the same price. However, that does seem to be a little bit steep. I would say if this was south of $20, maybe at that $14.99 range, it would be a much more palatable pickup. At the very least, one to add to your wish list because it was received very strongly on PC. Based on the Steam reception, it is 91% positive on 1,926 reviews, so that's pretty good. And it could be a surprising game for a lot of you guys, as most of you guys probably haven't heard about the title. Moving on from that, we have a brand new JRPG, and that is the Caligula Effect Overdose. Now, the Caligula Effect has already been released, but this Overdose version does enhance it. Unfortunately, Caligula Effect wasn't received all too strongly when it was put out on the PlayStation Vita, but now that it is coming to the PlayStation 4 with more content, hopefully it's received a little bit stronger. The game is set in Mobius, a world that exists for the sake of letting people forget about the pain and problems of reality. In this world created by a sentient Vocaloid program, reality and fantasy has become blurred, allowing people to relive their high school years in bliss. Yet, in this seemingly beautiful and perfect world, something is in fact amiss. Pretty interesting premise for a story. I probably wouldn't say that this is a game to buy day one just based on the reception the Vita version got, but maybe one to keep your eyes on and down the line when it is, say, south of $20, pick it up then. Next up, we have a pretty interesting co-op game, and that is Rico. Rico, right away, when you look at this game's art style, it's pretty captivating. Kind of reminds me of Borderlands' art style. But the game centers around 2 cops, 1 case, and only 24 hours to bust the bad guys, become a loose cannon police detective, and face off with criminal gangs in this procedurally generated action movie FPS. Join forces with a friend and take down those crooks buddy cop style. You'll take down criminal gangs with extreme prejudice and solve the Rico case. You've only got 24 hours. And again, with procedurally generated cases, no 2 games are ever the same. And with the cooperative play, it's not only going to have online co-op, but yes, the game is going to have local cooperative play as well. So that's great. A lot of games are foregoing on local co-op play these days. So good to see that Rico is going to have local co-op. Rico will be coming out on March 14th. And lastly, I do have a couple of VR games for you guys with PlayStation VR. First up, we have the Arc Slinger. The Arc Slinger is set in a world that is in danger. The people turn to a hero entrusted with the mythical gun Angel Heart. You must take down the villainous Godsmoke and his dastardly gang. Do you have what it takes to become the Arc Slinger? The game touts an original story and universe, 15 levels of first-person shooter VR fun, and it's also featuring a lot of recognizable voice talents, including Nolan North, so yet again, he makes his presence known, and you'll be able to become a master gunslinger as you fight your way to saving the world. For those of you guys with PlayStation VR, the Arc Slinger is due out on March 13th. And lastly, another VR title, we have the Wizards Enhanced Edition. The Wizards is a game that's also been out on PC for a little bit, coming all the way back in March of 2018, and it's been received pretty strong over there. The Wizard obviously has you become a powerful wizard and take fate into your own hands. Immerse yourself in a beautiful fantasy world and destroy your enemies by casting spells with hand gestures. The game touts free movement and teleportation-based exploration, arena mode with challenging battles on the arenas, high replayability thanks to game-modifying fate cards, 6 element-based spells to learn and upgrade, intuitive system of casting spells with hand gestures, and a campaign featuring time travel, heroic battles, and dragons. The Wizards Enhanced Edition will be making the transition to PlayStation VR on March 12th. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, for a lot of you guys, you might be thinking that this week isn't packed with a lot of games. I know some of you guys aren't into the Division 2, and that's definitely the biggest game of this week. However, DISSIDIA Final Fantasy NT making the transition to a free-to-play game, that's definitely gonna stir up some interest. One Piece is making the open world transition. I'm not completely sold on Worldseeker, but I am hoping for the best. Ghost of a Tale is almost a certainty to be great. Maybe just one game you want to wait on a sale for, and Rico is shaping up to be another surprise hit, so I'm excited for that one, especially being a local co-op game. That's going to conclude this video. If you're planning on picking up any games this week, let us know, and sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
You can choose a summon ahead of battle, and call on them when the summoning gauge is full. Attacking summoning cores that appear on the battlefield will speed up this process. And of course,
In the Enhanced Edition, Carbon Studio presents the very best version of the game, with new locations, appearance customization, and dozens of improvements across the board.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.